All right, so what are we going to talk about in today's episode?
Well, I want to know what you've learned from your guests. I know that you have podcast guests. I do watch them, even though you think I never watch.
Okay, you're the only one, so that's good. It was you and my mom, but she dropped out 100 episodes ago, so it's just you now. So that's nice. It's nice that your wife is watching.
It's my duty as a wife.
Yeah. Listening to you talk sometimes. Okay.
So what have you learned?
I think, what have we learned? That's a hard question to answer, but
they're so diverse.
200, very different people, many entrepreneurs, many nonprofit people. I think the biggest thing that we have learned is how many talented and incredible people there are. I think there are genuinely people who are doing amazing things for the planet and have built successful businesses doing that.
Future Optimist.
When you started as a wife, I know that you can get a little cynical about the world.
Just a little cynical. Yeah. Just a little bit.
And it's easy to get cynical in the times that we live in. As parents, you also look at the world in a kind of a different way. And if you look at the state of the world, it's really easy to get hopeless. But I think it's been really good for you to talk to these people who are like, yeah, things suck and we're going to make a difference. And this is the concrete way that I'm going to contribute.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think we've often talked about 3 levels to things, and there being 3 levels. And I think the first is just broad ignorance. Everything's going to be fine, but not out of any place of intellectual knowledge. Just I believe everything's going to be fine because my astrology said it's going to be fine, right? And there are a lot of people, and that's why they say ignorance is bliss, right? That's the first tier. Everything's going to be fine, but I have no basis for that. I have no scientific understanding of the state of the world, of our resources, of climate change, whatever, right?
Yeah, that's basically just anxiety, just trying to convince yourself is what I think it is.
Or something else. But yeah, something is causing a lot of
the yin and yang.
Right. I believe everybody is smart. All the people in the world are smart and good-hearted. But the second level is you start to read books and you start to understand some stuff and you realize we're in a very tricky spot. As humans, we're running out of resources, and it's not even just global warming or climate change. It's many different factors. There's going to be 10 billion of us, and the amount of stuff that we're all consuming is rising rapidly, especially as new countries come into being. The equation of being a human being is changing. Yeah. And it's scary and difficult. And there are shortages of certain resources we're rapidly running out of, and we're not slowing down. So the more you learn about that, the more you're scared. And then you look at politics and the people who are in charge, and they're saying stupid things. And you believe that there's, nobody in particular. You believe that things are just, that it looks hopeless, that it looks bad. A lot of people right now are afraid of having kids because they genuinely believe that the world of the future will be worse than today. And that's not just cynicism. There's a very good reason to believe that. But I think the third level, and that's what we try to get to on the show, and we have gotten to, is what is even beyond that? Can you look at these problems and not just throw up your hands and give up? Can you not just quit in the face of overwhelming odds, but can you find something else that motivates you to go forward and something else that propels you to actually try to solve something?
Exactly.
Even knowing or not knowing whether the problems are solvable. And seeing a lot of people who are smart and intelligent and have their hearts in the right places doing that is deeply comforting. And that's what makes it almost like a spiritual practice, talking to these types of people.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. No, but I think I always believe that humans adapt, it's just evolution. And it's really good to see in which ways people are actually doing that, So yeah, I've loved many of your guests. Yeah, tell me about some of the companies that kind of jumped out at you or that you still think about a lot.
Well, I think anybody who's come up with something from nothing, those are the most interesting ones. When somebody just sticks a battery on something that's just I never knew was possible or never even had heard of, that's what makes your brain really expand. Whether it's new tech, like, of course, neurotech, the capacity to read our brains, like Norable is doing and Ramses Al-Qaid is doing, or biotech, people who are making the woman who's making that device that allows you to perform chemistry on a droplet scale, gene editing and CRISPR and literally modifying genes
Incredible.
to be able to eradicate certain genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia. That's all really cool. People who have found angles to problems that's completely unique. Like the guy who came up with the idea that heat is a byproduct of so many industrial processes and came up with a block that allows you to store immense amounts of heat at high temperatures for a long period of time, thereby not wasting all of this energy, because so many industrial processes, they just waste all kinds of stuff and they don't have any way to capture and reuse it. Yeah. So anybody who does something that allows you to make something more circular or close the loop or get rid of trash, those I find very fascinating too. Or I still think about that guy from Cambium Carbon who realized that, do we need all of our products to come from wood from trees that we chop down? What about all of the urban trees that get cut down for one reason or another, or that just fall down? Should that go to a landfill or just be wasted? And then we chop down some new tree in a forest to make a table. Couldn't that make a table too? And there's just so much waste in our society, and anybody who is actively stopping that waste, I find very fascinating too.
That's cool. I love that. Smart thinking.
Yeah.
Morgan, who was here, I loved her idea because it's as a woman in the music industry, that would be a real solution for many women.
It's true. And she's referencing Morgan Mercer, the person who used VR to teach empathy. Even not knowing what that's about, that's a brilliant idea as soon as you hear it. And there's a reason that big companies like Hyundai and IKEA are going with that, because what better way to teach empathy than to show?
I love that idea.
And I think the stories that you learn about people just finding different ways of achieving their dreams, that's interesting. And people who've bet everything. I just talked to somebody this morning, people who've gambled everything. Like, we live in such a risk-free way, and some of these people have gambled not just their money, but other people's money and come out the other side, or their entire life savings, maxing out every credit card. And you wouldn't say that's advice that you would give to somebody.
Yeah.
But there's a different way of thinking that a lot of these people have that lets them do that.
I love that.
Pretty crazy.
On my walk, I walk most evenings. I was thinking of how powerful it is when you just hold the expectation for something. You just hold the expectation that it's going to work out. And how that changes just micro behavior. And I would love to live my life more like that. So that's inspiring to hear people talk about that.
Yeah, it's like a chicken and egg thing too, because you wonder, and I still don't know, whether people feel that because they're onto something.
Right.
Or they're onto something because they feel that. For example, did somebody push through because deep down they knew they had a good idea and they did have a good idea?
Yeah.
Or did they just hold space in a vacuum and then the idea came?
Right.
And I don't even think they fully would know the answer to that. Because for whatever reason, some people are propelled to do certain things.
Yeah.
And it's almost oftentimes even just random. Like, why did this person decide at that moment? Why did you go from being a scuba dive instructor to building a vacuum sealed stainless steel water bottle to get rid of plastic? It's almost like it doesn't even make sense. But something in their brain said, you've got to do this, and you've got to do it now, and you've got to put all of your money and other people's money into doing this.
I love people who just follow that.
Crazy, right?
That's my area.
Right.
The inner harmony and listening to what Steven Spielberg calls the whispers, those whispers of intuition. And most people ignore those whispers, but some people just go all in and just completely trust that. That's really beautiful.
It seems clear that most of the successful people that I've talked to followed those whispers.
Yeah, that's cool.
And there's always that element of randomness or weirdness or chaos or something that they have in there. Yeah, it's quite bizarre. And of course, another thing that I should say is, and again, like when you're in an interviewing relationship, you don't know whether they're telling you the truth or a PR.
Yeah,
because they're also giving a pitch. It's like a pitch that they've given 1,000 times before because they've been on 1,000 podcasts before. And so I don't like it when people just go into their pitch, or when I feel like I'm in Shark Tank and somebody's just selling me on their idea. So I try to break that pattern. I don't always succeed. Sometimes it is just a sales pitch, and then I feel used. I don't enjoy those types of conversations, right? But so you don't know whether people are telling you the truth or not, but whether they're saying what they think the public might want to hear or what they want to publicly share. But all of them, not one of them has expressed that they're pessimistic about the future.
Right.
In fact, they all
Yeah.
go to great pains to say that they're optimistic about the
Yeah.
future. And I don't know, again, is that because optimism is a necessary trait for being an entrepreneur or for building anything? Can somebody be a pessimist and still build something?
I think I read a study once that most entrepreneurs are optimists. Yeah. I have no data to back it up.
They're
but
excited. Yeah, they're
it's just
excited
a
about the
memory.
future. They're
Yeah, I
excited about
think
the
you
future.
have
And they
to,
want to
because
live
if you're
forever.
not, you stop trying.
Right.
Because every idea, no idea succeeds in the first round. So you have to have the optimism and the belief that it will work out. You just have to find the way, the strategy or the form. Speaking of which, I'm curious, what is something you would like to invent?
I think I would like to invent something different. And there have been two types of guests. There are guests that come up with something just wildly out of left field that never existed before. And then there are people who did something that was almost stupidly simple, like making a better water bottle.
Right.
That almost doesn't even sound like an idea. Some people have had wild success, made millions of dollars with something that doesn't even seem like a good idea, or an idea that you would share with your friends and they would say that, how on earth, right?
Yeah.
And other people have ideas that are so crazy absurd, like taking NASA technology and finding a better way to wash clothes, and that somehow prevents microplastics from going in the ocean, that you just think, how on earth did you come up with this, right? And
Wow.
I think in a world where everybody's trying to do the same thing, doing something unique would be my ultimate aspiration. And right now I'm not doing anything unique. I'm succeeding with a marketing agency. Like, my company is a marketing agency, which is the most boring, arguably oversaturated type of business. It's working. And even when it comes to content, like doing this, everybody has a podcast. Everybody's putting out content. Everybody feels that this is the only way to succeed right now. And obviously that's not true.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are completely different ways to succeed and add meaning and to make money. Something that's not a waste of time cosmically would be something.
But I'm curious, what is the problem you would like to solve?
Well, if you could make a dent in any of the very real problems facing humanity, I think there
Like
are
what?
internal
Examples.
there's internal problems, like the fact that everybody's depressed and that we're all increasingly lonely and all of that.
Yeah.
So there are these mental problems, which I think is more your domain. I think in general, I'm more interested in the actual problems that are affecting all of us, whether we realize it or not, such as how are we going to farm enough food to feed 10 billion people? Where is the ammonia going to come from? What resources? What does the future economy look like? What does a world look like where AI is smarter than us? What is our role in the future? Those are the types of problems that fascinate me. And I think more so than money for money's sake, which to me has always seemed empty and shallow and stupid. It's more about if you can make a dent in an actual problem that humanity is facing, of which there are so many.
So many,
Yeah.
So lots of things to invent.
Yeah. And again, will we survive? Won't we survive? I don't know. But I think if you could help with that, that would be better. Yeah.
Okay, that's our goal.